Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
To the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Happy Saturday to you. It's Saturday at the time that we've recorded this show. So if you're watching it on a Wednesday, well, it's a Saturday. So anyway, our illustrious colleague Andy Burrows is taking some well-deserved family time away on holiday. So to do my Smackdown review today, I brought along a good buddy of ours that you see quite regularly on this program. Generally, when we do a different review, more like the Dynamite review, I can't call him DMD today because it's not AEW. So today it is our good friend, one third of our trios, Dave Robinson. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, mate. I've burst through the forbidden door.
Yes, you are
the Smack Dave.
Smackdown.
Does that work? I've got to have a gimmick.
Dave.
I've got to have a gimmick.
There you go. There you go. You've got your WWE one. You've burst through the forbidden door as Smack Dave.
Since starting on this podcast, I've been watching more and more WWE. So I used to just catch up on the results of Raw and SmackDown. But I have been watching lately, so it isn't as daunting to do this as it would have been a month or so ago when I hadn't when I'd just been watching the pay-per-views. But I thought it was a pretty good show this week, so I'm looking forward to having a chat with you.
Let's have a chat with it. And Muns, one for the shorts, Smack Dave.
Smack Dave.
Not literally, don't smack a Dave, though. Don't go that far.
We can't endorse that.
Can't endorse any violence to a Dave. That's for sure. Not on this channel or any channel for that matter. Anyway, you may notice behind me, Dave has got the lovely Friday Night SmackDown logo behind him. You may notice behind me is the centerpiece of the show. You probably can't see Jey Uso because he's probably behind my head. But the main point of SmackDown this week, or one of the main parts of the show, was Jey Uso selecting whether he was going to join his brother Jimmy or whether he was going to fall in line with the bloodline. If you remember last week, there was a big to-do at the end of SmackDown. Solo attacked Jimmy Uso. They left, and Paul Heyman, in the Eminem-style song, asked, what about Jey? And Roman said, well, he'll fall in line eventually. And that's coincidentally where SmackDown begins. Paul Heyman's in the ring. So they started even and bring him out. Solo's music was playing. Paul Heyman was on the mic, basically saying that Jey needs to make his decision. Well, actually, before he even says that, Jey Uso comes out. They start talking about making his decision. Paul Heyman then drops a bomb on Jey Uso and says, well, tonight, you're going to get your opportunity to get some singles gold because you're no longer with your brother Jimmy. You're going after Austin Theory and the United States Championship. Jey Uso was like, yep, that's fine with me. And in regards to the other stuff, I will tell you later. Dave, the start of it really set the tone for what was to come later on in the show. But a strong, look, this type of bloodline thing has been going on now for so long, but it's a typical strong start to SmackDown that we would expect.
Yeah, I think Jey Uso's fantastic. He's kind of facials and his acting skills as well.
Yeah,
really, really helps develop the story. And he's obviously torn about making the decision and what he needs to do. Yeah, in terms of setting up the match as well, US title match, that's great because I don't know how much Theory's been used. He seems to have become a bit of an afterthought lately. So to kind of pump Theory back into like the Bloodline feud, that helps him as well. But, great start to the show.
Yeah, I think with Theory, obviously he was a centerpiece at Raw for so long when they didn't have a world champion. It was his title basically that was the main part of it. He got shifted to SmackDown. And I think this is a start again because where Roman is, I say he's part-time, he's pretty much on every other week as we go towards SummerSlam. But I think obviously there'll be a point where Roman takes a break. I don't see him dropping the title even at SummerSlam. So I think Austin Theory will start to see main event in a lot more SmackDowns going forward. And obviously the WWE are really high on this guy.
Yeah,
that is without a doubt. Right. The most important part for me of these shows, just because they're coming over for it, is the Money in the Bank qualifiers. I, for one, can't wait for Money in the Bank over here in the UK. I know Dave, you're going to still try and get a ticket for the last week in a couple.
Hopefully, I'm away the Friday to Friday. Yeah. So the show's on the Saturday, isn't it? So while I'm away, I'm going to be trying to see if I can pick up a cheap ticket because they're still going for like the resale tickets are still £400-500.
Yes.
So yeah, hopefully as it comes towards the show, people who've got tickets that can't go will be a little bit desperate to sell and just sell it for face value, hopefully.
Yeah, I think as Bray Wyatt would say, yowie wowie at those prices.
Yeah.
Right, so the Money in the Bank qualifier first match, Santos Escobar versus free agent Ali. Now, if you watch the Raw review, you will know that I'm not a fan of the free agency, but it's fine. At least it makes sense when a guy can appear on any show. That's, otherwise there was no point in the draft. So the free agency, okay, fine. It works. At least there's a reason for them to be on every show. So I'm cool with that. Ali's mainly been on NXT, starting a feud, I think, with Wesley for the North
American title,
which will be fantastic, by the way, when that happens. But yeah, he gets on Santos Escobar of the LWO. Listen, this match again, it was a real what you would expect from this was fast-paced matching, which is exactly what it was. It was a big Hurricane Rana from the apron to the floor by Santos early doors on this. Big suicide dive as well. This match, again, we say this a bit about some of these AEW matches. Dave, Santos ends up hitting the Super Phantom Driver for the win. They could have put another 10 minutes on this. It was, sometimes we say this when we're watching Dynamite, it's getting good.
Yeah.
And then it finishes.
Yeah, great match. And I like in recent times as well, the LWO have started picking up some victories and they've started to look a lot stronger than they were, a couple of months ago. This was a great match, could have gone either way, and great finish as well.
Yeah, really good finish. And Santos moves forward to Money in the Bank. So the interesting, what I've found so far about the competitors in the Money in the Bank ladder match as it stands today on a Saturday, there is no former world champions in this.
No.
Which for me is great because that means, because generally 88% of the time, the winners win the title.
Yeah.
So that would mean we're going to have a new world champion and a first-time world champion as it stands currently.
Yeah, and LA Knight was on commentary, wasn't he, for this as well? Because he's already qualified. I think he's so funny.
Yeah, great. LA, do you think he sounds like The Rock when he talks?
Yeah, he does, yeah. And he said something about slapping the glasses off Michael Cole's fat head, which popped me as well. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was that. That was good. Any time they take the mick out of a commentator on any wrestling show, it's generally quite funny. They moved backstage. There was a bit with Sammy and Jay. Sammy just kind of making the point that, look, I was in this position before. You've got to choose your heart over your head. What you're going to do. Basically, going back to the Royal Rumble where Sammy hit the Roman with a chair and left the bloodline at that point. So good bit of added drama to what was already a dramatic.
It's all building, isn't it, towards the end of the show and the main event, and everybody's expecting, see, as part of the main event or following the main event, that Jay would make his decision.
Yeah, exactly that.
Just helping to add to it.
Which I think is good. Add a bit more drama to the end of the show. They've been doing it so well for so long anyway with the bloodline that it's, you can't expect it.
This is where the WWE specialises in, to be honest. And this is where AEW, even though we do want two different shows and two different products, they start the show and then they trickle things in during the show as part of it, just to help it along. There's a general story. And as you say, they've done it so well with the bloodline stuff for the past couple of years, and this show is another example of that.
Do you think, though, Dave, I'm going to ask you, I think I asked this to Andy recently, the fact that it is literally Roman, Heyman, and people in the wrestling business like P.S. Hayes, Adam Pearce, doing the writing, like the background stuff, instead of having a load of writers that have written 21 seasons of Law and Order or Friends or whatever, they've got everyone involved. They've got a small group, but they've all been in the wrestling business. I think that helps a lot more than having these Hollywood writers come in and try and write you a script, because they've not done it before, wrestling wise.
Absolutely. And there may be a place for them, in terms of putting the show together or, telling a story. But when it comes to the actual wrestling, when it comes to the ins and outs of that, you've got so many guys there. And if you let Paul Heyman help, You let the talent help as well. Obviously, Roman's established himself. He's the top star, he's the top guy in WWE. But I think they need to do a bit more of that. Trust the talent, particularly the ones with the experience. You guys like AJ Styles and people like that. They could really bring some stuff to the table. And I think Triple H is more open to that kind of approach than Vince was, perhaps.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we might get more of this. The Bloodline story has arguably been, you could say, the best story of all time. I don't know if that's a bit of a exaggeration, but it's up there, isn't it? Certainly in recent times.
It's got to be. I think I mentioned it was the best long-term storyline thing since Austin Vince.
Yeah, but there's that. The only real comparison I got with AEW is what they did with Hangman, and then the story with the Elite. That was probably a long-term story, which I enjoyed. But this is the only one happening in the minute. But there will be a point where this finishes, or I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Yeah.
But we need more stories like this moving forward in wrestling.
I just wonder if they're a bit scared about that.
Well, it's been captivating, hasn't it? And at the end of each episode, you're like, what's going to happen next? And that was no different this week.
Exactly.
We'll discuss it when we get to it. But, with these kind of cliffhangers, keep people coming back for more.
Exactly. The next part of the show was they had Isla Dawn, Alba Fire, the NXT. So they drafted the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions to SmackDown. They haven't created new tag team champions in NXT. So I think what this is going to now do is kind of understand why. So Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler comes out. They have set up a unification match. I think it's next week for the women's tag team champions. So it looks as though the women's tag team champions will now be defending on 3 shows going forward: Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Dave, this is incoming rant 1 from me. There is maybe 2 on the show. This, for me, devalues the women's division, right? And we're big advocates on here for the women's wrestling to give them more time, to let them do what they do, because they've got some great wrestlers on their show, or across the brands. They've got some great women's wrestlers. If you're SmackDown, I know the Raw tag team champions are still Kevin and Sammy. I think there's plans in the works to split it going forward. Why are they just having 1 women's tag team championships? They've got so much talent on their shows. This, for me, devalues the women on the WWE. I don't know what you think about it.
I don't really see the need to unify it, because, as you say, the ones on NXT as well, and that gives something for talent to strive towards. Teams that are coming through the Performance Center and ultimately going to land in NXT, they can kind of work towards winning those titles. So I know they can be defended across all 3, but I kind of agree it's a little bit unnecessary combining them. Literally leave the tag titles in NXT and then have, I don't know, unless they're going to move towards a situation where they're all the titles are across the 3 and they combine everything. But they've just created a world title.
Yeah,
so it's kind of a different approach, isn't it? They've added a world title and then they're taking away a tag title. So
maybe it shows you what you think of their tag teams in red. Not saying none of the tag teams are any good, but we mentioned about tag team wrestling was normally really high up the bar in wrestling. But now in WWE, it's kind of like you've got your mainstays, but there's nobody, they're not really still pushing those tag teams as such, rather than the top ones that we've kind of, the Usos and people like that. But
and they seem to, and they've always liked doing this. They kind of get 2 wrestlers and put them together and they're a tag team. Rather than, but they're both pretty deadly and that are kind of opposite, aren't they, to that? So I don't know what's going on with the tag division in WWE. As you say, they don't seem to put as much emphasis or effort in to the tag division as they do everything else, and taking some tag titles away kind of goes along with that.
It does. It just makes me worried there's going to be more title changes now. They'll have like a flavor of the month that will win it, and then they'll diminish, and then they'll bring another flavor of the month in and they'll win it and stuff like that. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. Anyway, rant over for now, but be warned, there's another one coming. The next match was Bayley and Mia Yim to qualify for the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. To me, I wasn't really a fan on it. And again, I think it's because it was so quick. This may be an incoming rant too before I've even got to the thought was going to be rant two. These two are fantastic. Both in the ring. Bailey is hilarious with Michael Cole and on commentary and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Pandemic era, she was absolutely brilliant. I know she had a serious injury and stuff like that. This match for me was like, again, you gave it like 5 minutes. Bailey picks up the win. After the match, AJ Styles was on commentary, sorry for this, just before we go move on. Scarlett comes out, makes her way to the booth. What AJ Styles doesn't know is Karen Cross is behind him. She she blows a mist in AJ's face, which I can only look at as chili heatwave Doritos. You know, the red flavor in the Doritos.
Dust, wasn't it?
Dust, yeah.
Dust.
She just had some Doritos before she came out. It was from that. And he went into the cross jacket. I could rant about Karrion Kross and about how he's been misused, but I think that's for another show. This one, match was too short. I love both these women, not officially, not obviously don't love them, but as in talent wise, they've got so much about them. Not showcased again. Bailey does pick up the win. She moves forward to London for the main event, but Dave, this was just too short.
Yeah, it was kind of. Yeah, again, they do a lot of this as well. They have these short matches, and they're more concerned with like the stuff that's going on the outside of the ring.
Yeah,
where they could have just give these guys 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 12 minutes, say, to have a real good match, and it would have been more satisfying. So, I agree with you on that. I don't like the short matches have got a place in terms of squash matches, or when you have the odd situation where there's a quick roll up or something. It's like an embarrassing situation for the wrestler, and that plays into the story. But I didn't see the need for such a short match here.
No, they're two great competitors as well, which is I know you can't keep giving away free pay-per-view matches on TV, but you know when you're not showcasing them enough as it is, give one to one. Just prior to that, they did play a very nice package for the Iron Sheik. We didn't mention it this week on the show. Obviously, Iron Sheik passed away this week. I think it was 81. Absolute legend of the business, transcended, done, amazing. Obviously, we send our condolences to family, friends of the Iron Sheik, and is a massive loss for everybody in wrestling or associated to wrestling. We send our condolences out to him and his family. So we had a little bit of a backstage thing with AJ. I think, again, that's a mixed tag for next week has been set. Get ready for rant 2, Dave.
Here we go.
So the next part of the show, they went before the break. Sorry, Bianca Belair had a chat with Adam Pearce. He says, look, I'm doing a presentation for Asuka. Stay out of it. You've got your rematch. Just don't come out and attack her. And she was like, okay, cool. Well, not okay, cool. But she, in her own way, she pretty much said, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We come out from the break. Adam Pearce is in the ring, introduces Asuka, and he presents her with the Women's World Championship, or I think it was called. A new title, basically another new title. Rumor is Rhea Ripley's getting the Women's Heavyweight Championship on Raw, maybe as early as Monday. It basically is a way of taking the fact that Asuka is the Raw champion on SmackDown and that Rhea is the SmackDown champion on Raw. Basically taking those titles away and creating a new title for each show. No problem with that. I haven't got a problem.
Yeah, that's probably better than what they did last time in terms of it was Becky and Charlotte, wasn't it? And they kind of just swapped belts.
There's a little bit of heat there. Well, Charlotte.
Yeah, it was a bit. They didn't want to risk another situation like that.
No.
So I don't mind actually what they did here. But carry on with your rant, mate.
Yeah, that bit's fine. No, the rant's coming because you just mentioned it.
It's good. You're good until there.
Asuka comes out. They put the belt on her. Here we go. And Golden Girl comes out.
Ooh.
Now, look, Andy, I know Andy put her as a number one. And look, I'm not denying the fact that she isn't great. Don't get me wrong. She is. She's walked straight back in. She was here for 3 weeks. She pisses off on holiday for about 3 months after 3 weeks. Comes back in. And she's got a title shot when we go into London in 3 weeks' time. So Charlotte Flair comes back. Sorry, I forgot to mention Dave did woo poorly, but he did woo. I used to be able to do it. I'm not.
Wasn't my best woo.
No, I can't do it either, to be fair. I used to, but I can't. Anyway, So Charlotte Flair comes out, basically says you can have that title. I want that one, which was the old one they're getting rid of in the first place, which made absolutely no sense. But she is now back in this title picture. Now, maybe this is to do with the fact that they're starting to turn the cogs on a Bianca Belair heel turn. So, okay, that's because obviously Bianca went back and was like, what the hell was that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So I kind of get it. I think what's going to happen in London, and this isn't a spoiler, I don't know, because this is the 10th of June. So, we've still got a couple of weeks yet. I think that Bianca's going to come down, cost someone the match, and they're going to set up a triple threat match for Money in the Bank, potentially.
Yeah.
And then Charlotte probably have another holiday. Look, as I said before, this is just, it blows my mind. She's literally gone for 3 months. She was here for 3 weeks, gone for 3 months, and she's come back. And the first thing they do is, oh, hello, Charlotte. Here's a women's title. I'm so pissed off, Dave, that I can't talk about it anymore. So what's your thoughts on it?
I think if she was the heel, it would work a lot better, but they've kind of positioned Asuka as the heel and Charlotte as the baby. So, yeah, but Charlotte's my number one as well, mate. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for her. I think, her achievements, and I really think she has changed women's wrestling. I think what she's done, there's certain questionable characteristics of Charlotte, and she doesn't seem to get on with everybody backstage. There's been issue with Becky in the past, and I don't fully understand her schedule. As you say, she kind of disappears for a long time, comes straight back, and she's in a pay-per-view main event slot. If this is going to play into the bigger story of Bianca Belair turning, then maybe great. But I think this would have worked better if Charlotte was the heel and not the face. But she did kind of say a couple of lines of, "I don't wait in line." No, did you hear her say that?
Yeah. But whilst
they're kind of acknowledging, they're kind of acknowledging it.
Yeah, I was listening to that whilst I was effing and blinding at the TV. So I was trying not to listen to her because, look, as I said, talent-wise, I'm not saying she's not at the top of the game. I'm not disputing that. I just don't like this crap when they like.
Well, it's inconsistent, isn't it? Because in other stuff, they'll kind of have some kind of tournament or some kind of match as to establish a number one contender.
Yeah,
and it's a bit lazy, really.
As Charlotte just walks out and says, lazy booking.
Yeah, Charlotte just walks out and basically says, "I'll have a title match," and Asuka says, "Yeah, okay." I can understand the frustration.
Yes, let's move on quickly. Sharpish. There was backstage segment again. You kind of said putting the bits in place for the main part of the show. There was Paul Heyman and Jey Uso basically having another conversation about joining the bloodline. Jey Uso comes out and says, "Well, if I come back in the bloodline, or if I'm ever leader," because what they're saying is, and I don't think this is quite right terminology to use in this day and age, that Roman Reigns would groom him. Now that could be very controversial over here, depending on the nature of the conversation. But basically would groom him to be the new tribal chief. And Jey Uso basically says, if I'm the tribal chief to Paul Heyman, you're not in the bloodline. Mugs him off again for the handshake, and Heyman's just getting ready to call Roman Reigns, as what he normally says on his phone. So again, pipes up nicely the main event. You text me this. Literally before we come on the show, he was watching it. You texted me this morning, and the next match was Butch and Baron Corbin for the Money in the Bank spot.
Yeah,
and
there's two quick messages, wasn't there? About
I will read them out because I think they're hilarious. So I'm just going to get my phone. So I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm just reading my phone from Dave. So
I was majorly concerned when I saw the two in this match.
Yeah. So Dave said, first thing, he better not go over on Butch.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about that first and foremost.
And then you then quoted Baron Corbin's attire, and I quote, "Why is Baron Corbin wearing a school PE kit to the ring?"
That's just what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
He's wearing his shorts and his vest. Well, he looks like he kind of just rolled out of bed.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's literally what I wear to bed. I think with Corbin, he's got a really odd, and listen, I'm not one to talk about physiques on this show. Jesus Christ. It's like, but I mean, I don't know. He's had a lot of different attires in WWE, and that one, he is a free agent again. Baron Corbin can go anywhere. He's embedded in the field of NXT with the champion. Oh, gee, Trick, not Trick. That's his mate, Trick Williams. Carmelo Hayes. Sorry,
Yeah.
Carmelo Hayes. He's embedded in that feud, which is cool. Again, gives them a bit more. Gives NXT, giving NXT a bit of a rub of some superstars, which is nice. Well, some cool main roster guys, which is nice.
Yeah.
It comes out in his PE kit, and he takes on Butch. Partway through this match, we do see Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams at the front at the ringside. They ended up having a bit of a to-do, and Butch gets the win with the submission again. Really quick. Now,
It was a pin, was it? Was it a pin?
Submission.
Was it like a?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, it was kind of like a submission pin, wasn't it? It was
It was quite. Yeah, it was like a technical pin, wasn't it?
Yes.
And he kind of like had his leg hooked as well, and he
Yes.
had more pressure on, so
That
it
was
made
it.
it harder for Baron to kick out.
Yeah, that's it. It made it very. But I say this again when we talk about. I mean, Corbin's good. I like Corbin. He's a lot better than what he's presented. But Butch, Pete Dunne, whatever you want to call him, I'm not saying that he should be a champion of sort. But my God, I mean, give him some time to shine on this program. I said it about Chad Gable with the Raw review that I said he's Kurt Angle 2023. Pete Dunne is just so good, and he just he needs to break away from Sheamus, and I think that's in the works. But he needs more time, Dave. Surely in that ring.
Couldn't agree more, mate. I'm a huge fan. I'm so happy that he's in Money in the Bank match because obviously it'll be in London, so the crowd are going to go absolutely nuts for Pete Dunne. I think he needs to become Pete Dunne again and drop the Butch. It's not a major detail, but I think if he does ultimately break away from the Brawling Brutes, he can be he's reborn as the Bruiserweight, and we can see some really, really good matches. The talent's there for him to have these matches against, but like you say, if he's not given the time, then it's kind of a waste. Exactly the same as Chad Gable. And in terms of Baron Corbin, I really liked Baron Corbin when he was the Lone Wolf, a few years ago, his original NXT gimmick. Yeah. And I know things have changed and he's done a lot of different things and he's done a lot of different roles. But I think that's the kind of best version. So if they could kind of work back towards that, and presentation is a big part of it. And he just looked like he'd come out the gym or something, So
we've had someone that's come out in their PE kit, someone that's come out of the gym.
Well, I know I'm dwelling on it, what he wears, but attire is massive. A big part of the overall presentation and the believability of establishing like the megastars. If Roman just rocked up in his pants, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" And that's what I thought when I saw Baron Corbin. It was just like, "Come on, man! You could, yeah."
That's a fault for the women out there. Roman Reigns rocking up in his pants.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not one that I'm going to be thinking. It might give me nightmares, but it might. The women viewers on this show,
it wouldn't happen, would it? It just wouldn't happen. You see Roman in his attire, and the the whatever it's called, the flowery thing around his neck. You know what I mean? Yeah, and all of that goes into the overall presentation of the character.
Yeah,
shorts and a vest. Yeah, I'll stop talking about it now, but I'm just glad. I'm glad Pete Dunne won.
Yeah, it's going to be good to see him over. I think Dave, what you point about you making about him transitioning back to the Bruiserweight is what they're going to be doing with him in the future. So hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. We get a video hyping Bobby Lashley, who's been disappeared since the draft. He got drafted to SmackDown. Should really be one of the main players on SmackDown, in my opinion. Not been used since the draft. Maybe he's just maybe doing a Charlotte Flair and just taking some off and come back and get title shot. Who knows? We move on to the final women's Money in the Bank qualifier. Io Sky and Shotzi. I like Io Sky. I like Io Sky. The jury's out on Shotzi for me. I'm not sure. Maybe I haven't seen enough about enough of her. Sorry. I'm just not sure about her yet. Anyway, Io Sky and Shotzi said, to be fair, they had a really good match. For what it was anyway. There was a big moonsault that Io Sky won to win the match. So basically, Money in the Banks is Io Sky, it's Bailey, it's Shotzi. No, it's not Shotzi, sorry. It's Io Sky, it's Bailey, it's Becky, Zoe Stark, and Selena Vega. I think there's one more still to come.
Yeah.
What's your feelings on Shotzi Day. I know you don't really. I know you've only been watching it sporadically. More so last few weeks and months. But jury's out on her for me.
Yeah, I haven't seen a great deal of her, to be honest. So I'm a little bit on the fence at the minute about her. Again, it was kind of a relatively short match, wasn't it? That was the theme of the show. I think you can do one maybe like that, but when they're all like that, I kind of lose a little bit of not interest, but I want to see something that you can kind of get your teeth into, you know. But again, this wasn't really, and it was just. I was just thinking about the Jey Uso situation, to be honest, throughout this match, you know, because I knew it wasn't going to go long. So yeah, mate, yeah, I like her. I like her. I don't dislike her, but I need to see more of her, and I need to see some longer matches.
Yeah, I think don't get me wrong. I think the women's main event will be good. The only thing I would say is you tend to see a lot more slip-up spots in the women's main events than you do the men's. It's nothing against them. I think it's just obviously they've not done enough of these. Women haven't been in enough of these matches to.
Yeah, and I don't mind, and I kind of accept it because from where women's wrestling was,
yes,
there was a lot of constraints in what they can do. I mean, and going back to to 15 years ago. There wasn't anything in terms of technical matches. So I love the fact that they can go out there and they given the freedom and creativity to do what the men have been doing, like pretty much always, you know. So now they've got the chance to do it. There will be the odd mistake, but I don't mind. I kind of understand that.
No, me too. I'm glad they're getting their chance as well.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of backstage bits. Austin Theory was on there basically just saying, hey, I want to, if you're looking for a new client to Paul Heyman, he's invited to check out Austin Theory live during this match against Jey Uso. And then quite a funny spot. So there's Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn talking. They're interrupted by Pretty Deadly, who wants a title shot. There was, I think the Street Profits were there. I think the Brutes were there. Sure, there was something else. Kevin Owens is literally screaming at this point, which is great. And Adam Pearce has shown up and has booked a gauntlet match for next week, SmackDown, which will be for the number one contenders. I think that match will be going down at Money in the Bank. The winner of that match will probably take on the winner of that. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll touch into that in a minute. Basically, Golden Girl is on Grayson Waller Effect next week. Not that I'm going to care about that. So we'll move on. So main event.
Well, we're just touching on that. You know, in the same show, they've kind of said, well, if you're going to have a tag team title shot, you've got to earn it, and you've got to run the gauntlet.
Yeah.
You know, and you've got to face potentially like the first team in there has got to beat 5 other teams to get a tag team title shot. And then the women's title, you just walk to the ring and say, I want a title shot.
Yeah.
And you say, like I said, Charlotte's established and there's an element of she doesn't wait in line and a kind of arrogance. But that doesn't really fit in with a babyface character.
No, but she's always been. I mean, she's always been they call it a tweener. I think she's always been like this. Even as a face, she's always had that heelish promos about her. As I said before, I'm not going to get into it much more. Top talent, but I can't have these people just coming back in and just more so because all the other women on there have worked their fucking asses off, and she comes back in and goes, "Oh, I want a title shot. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. You want one sugar or two in that tea, Charlotte? Do you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
Anyway, before I start throwing my computer out the window, let's move on to main event. Finally, a match that got a bit of length of time. Finally, we've got a nice long match here. Intercontinental United States Championship. Austin Theory, Jey Uso. Fantastic match. I don't doubt these two. These two are great. It's a good near fall action. The finish, Jey Uso super kicks Theory. He falls into the ref. The Uso splash was going to happen. The Uso splash did happen, so he counted to about 15. Pretty Deadly then come out. So Pretty Deadly have been aligned with Austin Theory a little bit recently, Dave, just for FYI, just in case you wondered what that was all about.
Yeah, I did see that.
Great. I'm glad. I don't know. Jimmy Uso appears. The crowd go ballistic. He comes in, he takes out Pretty Deadly, both of them. Solo comes out. And he goes to give Jimmy again the spike. Jey Uso holds him back, stops him from doing it. Once they break free, it was a stuttered super kick, I would say, at this point. I'm not sure if there's a bit of a communication issue there, but he went to hit the super kick. Solo moved that away. He hit Jay with the super kick, and SmackDown basically goes off the air with Jay even more conflicted than he was at the start of the show. Hasn't made his decision yet, but Roman Reigns is back next week. So I think we're going to get the conclusion to who Jay's going to decide next week. But really good main event. Didn't mind the interference. Generally with the bloodline stuff, you get interference anyway. You just have to accept it.
Yeah.
Really good main event. The ending, as I've said to you before, Dave, when we spoke about endings, one says, I need to see what happens next week.
Oh, absolutely. And he definitely achieved that. You know, and there's the Roman was going to be there. Heyman was on his phone to Roman at the end. I think they could have done this a little bit better if I'm being critical.
Yeah.
Because for me, Paul Heyman and Solo should have wanted Jay to win that title. You know, that should have been the most important objective, to be honest. Yeah. So Solo attacking Jimmy and causing what happened kind of went against Jay.
Yeah.
Whereas if Solo would have just helped Jimmy take out Pretty Deadly and allowed Jay to then win the match, you know, Jay would still be conflicted because you've got Jimmy trying to help him and you've got Solo trying to help him and he wins the title. So I know that doesn't really help theory. But I think for the sake of the Bloodline story, I'd quite like to see Jay pick up singles gold. I think it would have helped. But I don't know what your opinion of that is. That might just be me.
I hadn't thought of it, to be fair. By the way, sorry, I forgot to mention Austin Theory picks up the win after the super kick on Jey Uso. I think it would have been interesting because it would have made the decision harder because he was a solo champion, so to speak. And then he wouldn't need Jimmy because he's the one-man show. Like, you know, he'd be second down, basically, in terms of titles to Roman. So I think it would have been... Yeah, it could have been a more interesting way. I don't think it would have devalued Theory too much. I just think at the moment, they're still kind of positioning talent from the draft, whatever you want to call the draft, because it doesn't really matter.
Bit of a mess.
Shows anyway. But I think that they're still trying to position talent on that show. So I think maybe that was the reason why. It would have been an interesting ending, even if Jey Uso held it for a week and Roman made
because they
could have made him give it up next week.
Well, yeah, or also they could have done it where whoever costs him the title, whether that be Jimmy or whether that be Solo, and then that could play in the story. They cost Jay's for like he finally won his first singles championship, and it's such a short reign because of the interference of one side or the other. So I would have personally preferred that, but they still achieved what they set out to achieve in the fact that Jay's very conflicted, doesn't know which way to go, whether to kind of become the tribal chief in waiting or whether to stay with his brother, who he's had endless tag team titles. I don't know how many titles they're up to now, mate. You've probably got a better idea. 10, easy.
Something like that. Yeah, they've had a few.
So, yeah, but I enjoyed it. And as I say, they achieved what you'd want them to achieve. And I'm looking forward to seeing next week to see where they go with it.
Yeah, it will be an interesting show next week. As I said, Roman Reigns is back next week. Golden Girl is on the Grayson Waller effect next week.
Woo! Better?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, that's fine, Dave. The tag team.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, you work on it for next week. The tag team gauntlet match to do the 1-1 contendership is next week as well. As I mentioned, Charlotte Flair and Asuka are in 3 weeks' time in London for the Women's Championship. So we'll see what happens there. But guys, this has been the Smackdown review show. Now, we're coming on a bit later today. Well, we'll be recording it later today. We're going to be switcheroo in this. The man the man to my left of my screen as I look, he's going to be the host. I'm going to be the Debbie McGee, the glamorous assistant, as we do a Rampage review. Obviously, it's an AEW show. So Dave will be the host. I will be the assistant. And we will see how that works. But for now, Dave, thank you so much as ever. You'll return as, I'd say Dynamite Dave, but it's Rampage. So Ram Dave. I don't know. No, we can't have that.
We don't want that.
That's a little bit.
Certainly don't want to film it.
Yeah, we'll be filming it. Yeah, we'll be tuning in. We'll be recording it very soon, and it'll be up on our socials later on. But Dave, thank you so much for this.
Thanks for having me, man.
Smackdown review, guys. We'll be back very soon with our Rampage review. Until then, guys, buckle down and stay safe.